right, I'd like to call the meeting to order. And do I have to read that thing about in light of the governor's?
I'll make the motion on that for you,
Thank
Debbie.
you. Thank you.
This is Matt Rogers. I move that in light of the governor's disaster proclamation for COVID-19, which authorizes boards and commissions in the state through the Open Meetings Act to meet electronically, that we conduct this meeting electronically for our April 14th meeting of the Board of Commissioners.
Okay, so motions, I'll second it. And do we have to roll call it?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh. Braun?
Yes. Yes.
Mitchell? Sorry, Matt, Mitchell, I didn't hear you yet.
Sure, I didn't hear the motion.
It was just a motion to meet electronically.
Yes.
So pretty.
Brown?
Yes.
And Rogers?
Yes.
Okay, so the motion carries, so we're meeting. All right. Any citizen comments? Natalie, did you?
I did not receive any ahead of time.
Oh, I see somebody though. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Hi.
Hi,
Hold on.
Camille?
I want to turn on my video.
Oh, who is this?
Hey.
Camille?
Yeah. Hi.
Yeah. What's your name? Camille what?
Camille Walker.
Camille Walker. Welcome. All right.
Yeah.
We'd like
Thanks.
to hear your citizen comment.
Yeah. I've been talking to a couple people who are all Ridgeville people like I am. And we've been talking about how we could really use more community garden space. It's like come up with a lot of people. I have a plot over at James Park, but I'm just like, oh, I wish there was something closer. And I guess someone was like, wait, have you ever said anything? Hey, Killian, have you ever said anything to like at a Ridgeville meeting? And I was like, oh, I haven't. And so this is me saying, hey, I don't know if anyone's thinking about this, but more garden space would be great.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Anyone else?
And I'm Gabriella Martin. I joined a month ago, and I'd also raised the issue of the garden plots, and I don't know how this works, so I was just dialing in again to kind of hear what maybe the commissioners had discussed and kind of what the thoughts are at this time.
You know, in citizen comments, we're not really allowed to answer, but maybe Natalie, could you give a call to Gabriella and let her know what's been discussed about it or what's going on with it?
Or maybe, I don't know, I guess maybe you could just tell me generally how this works. I don't know. Is there a point during meetings when you guys report back to the citizens? Or I have no idea how this generally works. So that would be helpful for me to understand the process.
Go ahead, Natalie.
In order for it to be discussed during a meeting, it needs to be put on the agenda by one of the commissioners. So there was a little bit of discussion around it at the last meeting, I believe during my report, which is on our YouTube channel if you want to listen to that. But if the commissioners want to talk about it at the meeting, I just need somebody to send it to me to put it on the agenda. So Debbie, if you would like me to do that, we can get that done. You can just shoot me a quick email tomorrow or a text and I'll get it on there for March.
I can't just tell you now.
Sure. Yeah,
Okay.
I guess
Would you
so.
put that on the agenda for the next meeting, please?
Sure.
Thank you. Okay. So it will be discussed at the next meeting, Gabrielle.
Okay, and then I just, again, for how does this work? But it gets discussed. Is this something that citizens listen to, or is that something that you all do, I don't know, in your own private session? Just, I have no idea. How does this work?
Natalie, you want to? Matt Mitchell?
Sure, I'm happy to just talk about an overview of the process. So because we're a public body, we are subject to the Open Meetings Act. And so everything we do has to be open and in public, all of our substantive discussions. That's the time we have substantive discussions with staff, the executive director and the program director, as well as our attorney and treasurer. Mr. Rosinski is the program director. If a commissioner or a citizen has an issue they want discussed at the board meeting, yes, we'll put it on the agenda. And it sounds like that's going to happen for the next meeting. And we'll discuss it. If there's something for action, usually a commissioner will make a motion for something to happen. And that could be directing staff to do some investigation. It could be buying materials. It could be setting aside space. You know, there's a lot of different actions we could take, but that would have to be done publicly in a meeting.
Okay, thank you for explaining that.
Debbie, can I say something real quick? Can I
Yes,
say
I'm
something?
sorry.
Can I say something real quick, Debbie?
Yes.
So in a nutshell, if it were to move forward, the board would need to decide where, and you're going to be giving up green space. So that's a big decision. And then how to get water and fencing it off. And that's a budget decision. And obviously that would be in the next upcoming budget if things work out. So it's not as easy as we just need garden plots. You need water, you need a fence, you need a location. We have 14 total acres and a lot of green space for baseball, soccer, and drop-in participation. So finding the natural green space will be part of that process.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, any other citizen comments? Okay, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes for February 10th, 2022. I'd like to entertain a motion to do that. I'll make a
Mitchell.
motion to approve the minutes.
Mitchell, second.
Actually, you're out of order, Madam Chair. You can't, since you were not at that meeting.
Oh, I was not at that meeting. I'm sorry.
So this
I
was
thought-
carried over the last time because Commissioner
There
Mitchell
wasn't
was
enough
not
time to-
available. And now we're in the same situation where Commissioner Gaines is not here. So we only have 2 members present, which can proceed with a vote that way if you so choose.
If who chooses? If I choose?
If you choose, it's just you and I cannot vote on it. It would just
Right.
have to be Commissioner Mitchell and Commissioner Morrell.
Are you guys comfortable with that?
I am.
That's not
Okay.
correct. That's not correct. You need 3 votes.
Oh, then it can't be done?
Yeah, your quorum's 5, your board's 5, your quorum's 3. You need 3 votes. So you're going to have to push it another month. 2 votes.
Okay, I don't think that's accurate because it's a vote. It's not a quorum issue. But if you want to go with that, that's fine.
All right, we'll push that
I
one.
don't
but
want
the
to
March-
argue with you, so whatever you want to do, but you always need 3 votes, and if somebody wasn't here, so it's up to you guys.
All right, we'll push the February 10th approval of minutes to the next meeting. But March 10th, do I hear a motion to approve those?
Rogers moves approval of the March 10th, 2022 minutes for the Board of Commissioners.
Thank you. A second?
Morrell seconds.
Thank you. Okay, any discussion? All right, then we can call the vote. Julie?
For Braun,
Yes?
Mitchell,
Matt Rogers, do you think I can't vote on this if I wasn't present?
Right.
If you aren't present, you shouldn't vote on it because you don't know if the minutes are accurate or not.
Yeah. So I
Okay,
abstain.
got it. Morel,
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Okay, so the motion passes to approve the minutes of March 10th, 2022. Moving on to approval of the bills. Do I hear a motion to approve the bills?
Mitchell
Rogers.
moves to approve the bills in the amount of $21,750, April 14th, 2022.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Anybody second?
Rogers seconds.
Okay, any discussion?
Brian, do you want to go over the unusuals?
I can do that. Is that okay, Debbie?
Yes, please.
Okay. Auto Wares is oil and air filters for the trucks. Axe Academy Partner Class, Molly Bolash refund, Amanda Brooks refund. Chase Bank is our safety deposit box at Chase Bank. As we go down further, Evanston Lumber Plywood for a floor repair at a 908 Seward closet. Laura Gleason refund. Home Depot, oh no, I'm sorry. Illinois Association of Park Districts, our annual membership fee of $509. Further down, Celine Craft refund. Julie Lewis Meditaker for the Ready Committee. Courtney Lyons Brown refund. Manny's Landscaping, we restored the landscape east of 908 Seward with till seed and fertilizer. Claire Marcy refund, Angela Moberly refund, Nick and Ernie's as a repair to the F-350. The turn signals went out with a wiring problem. Michael Osborne refund for Imaginary Game. Natalie Salee reimbursement for some spring camp needs. Sunrise Trees, we had a large branch come down on an east side tree, and while they were there, they cut another one that was about to come down. Heavy winds caused that. Two Brothers Heating and Cooling, repair the Cayman furnace. It was a switch. And Thelma Walker refund.
Okay, I hope we didn't have any branches down today with those winds.
We'll find out tomorrow morning.
Whoa. Okay, any other discussion? Okay, we'll take a vote. Julie?
Debbie Braun,
Yes.
thanks. Mitchell,
Yes.
Morel,
Yes.
thanks. And Rogers.
Yes.
Okay. The bills are approved. Now we go to approval of petty cash expenditures. I hear a motion for that.
Mitchell moves to approve the petty cash in the amount of $3,108.07, dated April 15th, 2022.
Thank you. Second,
Rogers seconds.
thank you. Any discussion? You want to explain anything, Brian?
Yeah, sure. Amazon was a variety of things: garden tools, garden gloves, craft supplies for camp, wire folding fence for gardens, mesh netting for gardens, and fertilizer for the gardens. American Meadows was more seed, soil, and plants. Apple was iPad memory. Home Depot wiring, fencing, a 45-gallon container for concert equipment. MailChimp, emails over 2,000. National awards, we bought identification stickers for our sound equipment, so we know it's ours. Nursery Hills, Nature Nursery Hills, bushes for Reba Park. Audience was ink for the stamp machine. Red's Garden Center, several trips for organic mix and compost for our gardens at Elks and 908 Seward. Rick Peterson Plumbing was a rod of a drain in the maintenance garage. Sam's Club, spring camp snacks. Vista Print, business cards for Natalie Salee. That's it.
Okay, any further discussion? All right, take a vote. Julie?
Braun,
Yes.
Mitchell,
Yes.
Morel,
Yes.
and Rogers.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes to approve the petty cash expenditures. So monthly reports. Brian?
Okay, in your monthly packet, you'll see 3 bids. It's on the agenda later for a Kabuta Park vehicle, which you approved in the 2021-2022 budget. I recommend that we take the Russo bid of $24,857, which will come $43 under budget. It's the lowest of 3 bids, and it's also the closer Kabuta dealer. the closest food dealer. We do a variety of business with Russo, and we're happy with their service. From a maintenance standpoint, the crew has been very busy prepping the gardens at 908 Seward and Elks Park. They are also pulling 8 bushes at Riva Park and replacing them in the next week. That's already done. The bushes are pulled, new bushes are planted. Crew aerated all open spaces and will be seeded in areas of need. Ridgeville Park, just east of the main buildings, driveway, you just paid that bill, will be tilled, seeded, and fertilized by Manny's Landscaping. They will, that will happen, I said, in a couple of weeks. They came and did it this week. The above mentioned area gets tremendous use with our camps and programs, especially in the spring and the summer. AYSO started its Sunday youth soccer games that came in East, West, and Lighter Parks. They play every Sunday, 11:30 to 6 p.m. They'll play through June 5th, 2022. 300 children are participating. They will not play Easter Sunday. Just give you that heads up. From a budget standpoint, I met with Treasurer Gibbs. We've begun the process of identifying budget items that can be deferred to the 2022-2023 budget if needed due to Cook County's potential delay in collecting real estate tax revenue. The big items to defer would be the nature-based play area and some capital improvements on the recreation side of the budget. We estimate we can defer $30,000+. That would help us with a potential 1 month of operational costs. I will have the tentative budget in your hands by the May board meeting. As you know, we must pass the tentative budget in July, the appropriation ordinance in September, and the levy ordinance in December. And finally, on the April agenda, I requested petty cash to be increased to $4,000 a month, May through August, to help us meet our busy program maintenance needs. We went over petty cash this month, but Martha gave us the approval back on like April 9th. One thing that's not on the agenda, the REBA installation, we hope to have it done in May. That's going to cost $9,825, and that's in the budget also. That's it.
Great. Does anybody have any questions? I have one. I had a constituent call me, and he's a big ice skating guy, and he said that he saw that the liner to the rink was in the garbage and wondered why we throw that away every year since it cost about $1,000. Do they always have rips in them, or?
It actually cost about $1,500. The liner had numerous holes that could not be patched. We've only had one liner in the years of the smaller ice rink that made it 2 years.
Okay.
And I'll give you an example of what might happen. As the ice is freezing, kids have fun. They get on it before it's frozen, and or dogs. That's why we fence it and try to keep it as safe as possible. I talked to the city. They've never saved a liner. So
never.
Yeah. No.
So we don't have a backup either. Could any of them be patched and used as a backup?
If we get a minor hole as we're watering, we can be patched. But as it thawed, you get pieces of ice, sharp pieces of ice, then kids might get on it. And then we get numerous puncture holes. So we couldn't save it. We try.
Okay. That's a good answer to give them. Thank you. Jerry, your report? Hi.
Hello, everybody. I'll start with notable activity on our fraudulent payee alteration of $9,095 for the payment to IPRF. Chase has not yet refunded the funds pending the outcome of the investigation. They did say it could take at least 90 days for that to happen. So just mentioning it because we're continuing to track it. You've gotten the usual monthly reports in the packet for distribution. Some of the key indicators to look at in there, I'll start with our budget performance on the expenditure side. We're running at about 64% of the planned budget as compared with the targeted utilization at this time of year of about 71%. That suggests our spending is trending to end the year below plan. However, that might be a little misleading because typically our spending increases in the final months of the year as we get into the summer expense period. But compared to where we sat at this point in the year, the last few years, we were at 56% in 2021 and at 60% in 2020 and 2019. So our expenditures are running a little stronger than they at this point in the year than they have the last few years, but I'm not overly concerned because I think he's got a good grip on what the expenses are and managing to the budget. On the revenue side, our revenues are about $100,000 below plan at the end of March. We've probably received about as much tax revenue as we're going to get. We'll get some smaller dollar amounts in the months ahead, but the big chunk for the first installment is mostly in at this point. Overall, they are running about $23,000 below plan. The first installment is maybe about 35% below the 55% of total annual anticipated revenue, which is how the first installment works. That's consistent with prior years at this point. It seems to run about that far below. Our replacement taxes are unusually far above the anticipated levels, almost double what we would expect to get. That's a category, it's a mystery to us how we ever know how much replacement tax revenue we're going to get. So we just are happy to be getting more than we expect, especially after a number of years of declining levels in that category. I know that there's been things going on at the state level. You know, they were going to eliminate the replacement tax and then they reversed the elimination of it. So we'll be happy to just accept that income. Our interest income is running far below the budget, yet as a part of our total revenue picture, it's not a significant figure. And the reason interest income is so low is primarily because interest rates have been so low for some time. And we also dipped into our reserves quite a bit last year and probably brought our balances down that we're earning interest. Our summer camp revenue hasn't been received yet, so we've got a $70,000 shortfall in program revenue. Once registrations for summer camps, the payments for those start to arrive, we'll probably close that gap quite a bit. In terms of cash flow, we're looking pretty good. Our revenues exceed our expenditures by about $210,000. We aim to end the year at a $36,000 shortfall. Our favorable position right now reflects the arrival of the first installment of tax revenues, which provides us a big jump in revenue in a 1 month window there. That's going to be followed by months of much lower inflows coupled with above average outflows as our expenditures ramp up for the summer programs. I expect that surplus will probably diminish quite a bit by year end. In terms of our assets and liabilities, they decreased from February's $1,462,000 to $1,425,000 for March. There's a little bit of a typo in the next sentence of my report. It was looking at the corporate fund column only rather than the overall total. So it should read that little of the remaining $377,000 in taxes receivable will receive little of that 377 in taxes receivable we receive this fiscal year. It will be coming in the next fiscal year when the second installment tax bills go out. In our cash and investments, the Chase relationship is currently far above our FDIC limits because we received a big chunk of money in March. Consistent with our investment policy and state law, Chase has provided us a statement that there's collateral pledged at the Federal Reserve in New York to cover the balances in excess of the FDIC limits. Obviously, that's money that's at some risk of loss, small but possible, and it's not earning any interest income. To reduce the excess cash balances, and as discussed at the December board meeting, I transferred $50,000 to the Illinois funds because I was anticipating back then we'd have some excess. We probably should look at moving another 200,000 out of the Chase relationship to bring the balances within FDIC limits, while also leaving us with adequate operational funds in the cash accounts. I would seek board input on which relationship to transfer the monies to. We basically have three options. We can leave it in the Chase relationship. We can transfer it to our US Bank relationship, or we could transfer it to the Illinois funds relationship. US Bank isn't my favorite choice, just because of the more logistics involved in moving money back and forth. But the good thing about that relationship is it's FDIC insured, and the downside is the interest rate is currently 0.01%. So we earn about $2 a month on a balance of 250,000. The Illinois funds relationship is not FDIC insured, but it is recognized by state law and our investment policy as an authorized investment vehicle. The rate changes daily. In March, our rate averaged 0.275%, or about $57 a month on a $250,000 balance. So we get quite a bit more interest income in that relationship. It's also a lot easier for us to move money in and out of that account. And that's kind of my preference for wanting to go that way. I kind of turn it over for a real quick discussion as to input from thoughts on the board. What are you comfortable with my doing?
Jerry, if we move that to the Illinois fund, how much of our total assets would be in that Illinois fund?
In terms of our cash, we'd still have, it would be 250 at Byline, 250 at Wintrust, and 250 at Chase, and then we'd have 250 at Illinois funds, and a smaller 40,000 at US Bank.
I'm comfortable with your suggestion then to move it to the Illinois fund.
What I would, and I should add, what I would anticipate is over the summer months, depending upon what happens with tax bills, we will probably start to hit a point in the August timeframe where maybe we'd have to start to move some of that money back again as we deplete our reserves. But that's just kind of the normal movement of money in and out to fund our day-to-day operations.
I'm comfortable with it. Is there
anyone have any concerns about going to the Illinois fund relative or versus US Bank?
No, I mean, if you're more comfortable with the Illinois fund, I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Okay.
Make that happen. And then, so then the last item in my report is just the outstandings report. We've only got one item that has been sitting out standing for quite a while. Zhang is working on reaching out to that constituent and getting that situation resolved. So we'll hopefully get that cleared up in the next
That's pretty
report.
good. Just one.
Yes, it's very good.
It's amazing for us. Okay.
All credit to Zhang. She's been really
Yeah.
good at staying on top of that the way she needs to be. I appreciate that. Less work for me when she does.
Thank you, Jerry.
All right.
Natalie, your report.
Yes. Okay. All right. So, before I begin, Martha had texted me tonight to let me know she wouldn't be at the meeting. She also requested that I let the commissioners know that she sent me her resignation letter, and she will be here for the May meeting, but her resignation will be effective as of Friday, March 13th. So I will.
May 13th.
May 13th.
I'm sorry, May, yes. My apology. Yes, May. So I'll follow up with the board in terms of moving forward on seeking out some candidates for that appointment. All right, spring break camp. We ran spring break camp at Ridgeville Park, March 21st to the 25th. Camp was led by Josh Cavaliers and Laura Downey with 2 support staff. We had about 15 to 20 kids each day, and we had set the limit to 20, so that's nearly sold out, which is great. It went very well. We also hosted the Imaginary Game Spring Break Camp at Cayman East Park, and despite the rain that week, it was really fun, and kids had a blast. Studio 908 spring classes have begun for both youth and adults. Between our Studio 908 classes and our partner classes, we're offering over 30 programs this spring, either online, outside, or in studio. Registration looks great for both the Park District programs and our partner programs. My SEP summer staffing, I attended the Mayor's Youth Summer Employment Program job fair in March. I interviewed some excellent candidates. I also collected contact information for candidates interested in our youth grow team opportunities, and there was a huge turnout. Shout out to Catherine Egan for running a great program. This will be our 3rd year with her. I had 50 kids fill out the interest form that I had made for that program. So she was able to staff her entire summer program through the staffing event, which was terrific. I was also able to complete my staffing needs for camps this summer. Always grateful to the mayor and to the city staff that puts together such a terrific event for us each year. Summer sports, I am thrilled to announce that we will be able to bring back T-ball and soccer this summer. Those are 2 programs we've not had for the past 2 years. They've been sorely missed by the community. So Randy Richardson and his son Tyler are returning to do T-ball this summer. I just hired a soccer coach. His name is Giovanni, and a ETHS varsity soccer player who will be assisting him. Yes, so that's that. Registration is now open on the website for both of those programs. Summer camp registration is also open now for everyone. I was able to accommodate all of our lottery applicants and waitlist families, which is really terrific. We're taking, off the bat, we're taking more kids this summer, and then if we need to, we'll increase capacity from there. But as long as COVID, as long as numbers stay down, this will look closer to what a normal summer has looked like in the past for us. But super excited that we were able to accommodate all of those families. We do have some room left, so I have an interest list on our website if anybody's interested in registering their kids for our camp this summer. I will hopefully be able to accommodate them as well. Our CIT, Counselor and Training Program, sold out the day I opened it, so I have added some more spots for those kids as well. Our partner mini camps are starting to pick up in registration, but since those camps are in August, I expect it'll take a little time to fill those. But the Imaginary Game partner camp, that registration opens up on April 20th. It'll be a big day for registration. So heads up, Jerry, it's coming. Earth Day Concert and Cleanup on April 21st. We're hosting our 2nd annual Earth Day Concert and Cleanup event from 4 to 6 p.m. at Ridgeville Park. The event includes a walk through our parks to pick up trash. Back at Ridgeville, we have the youth craft and garden activities, snacks, and a performance by Reality Bites, a 90s cover band. If you love 90s music, they're fantastic. They've played for us before, so I'd love to see you all come out. I am in need of a couple volunteers to help that day, so if anybody is willing to lend a hand, please text me or email me. And now I have a special guest tonight. Tracy is joining us. I ran all of our 2019 program data for her, and she has done an incredible job of putting that all together to give us a clearer picture on some of our registration information. So I'm going to turn it over to Tracy so she can tell us what she's found.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thanks for having me. Nice to see folks on the computer screen. Hopefully, some point soon, we'll be in person again. So Natalie shared with me some of the 2019, I think some of it bleeds into 2020 data. And so I don't have access to share my screen, but I can just share some of my findings, and then maybe Natalie can share the PDF version with you all later.
I can give you permission. You want me to?
Sure.
Okay. Okay, should be good to go.
Yes, okay. Um, okay. I'm gonna minimize this. So I just kind of went over some of the data and the spreadsheets that Natalie had. So for the 2019 and the part that bleeds into 2020, there were 872 registrations. Of those, there were 353 that were unique. From the data, I was able to identify like the top 8 or so power users by household, so by their address. And so our leader from the 8th ward is 348 Ridge Avenue, and they've had 42 different registrations. And so I also kind of broke it down by ward. And obviously, because Ridgeville kind of perimeters are within the 9th and 8th ward and bleeds, I think, into the 4th ward, our leaders are 9th ward with 349 of those registrations, and the 8th ward with 209 of those registrations. One thing I thought would be kind of interesting to take a look at is just kind of with those households, how many had multiple registrations. And so 47% of that population participated in only one program or event. And then we go down all the way to at least 4 programs or events, and there's about 8% or 28 households that have engaged in that time frame from 2019 to 2020 with 4 different programs or events. So it can be interesting to figure out, as we work together, to see if there's trends or strategies that we can to kind of get our families to keep coming back to Ridgeville. So I broke it down also by program audience. So obviously 61% of Ridgeville's programs go to youth. The other 34% are adults. And then I just kind of, with some of the programs, 5% were for special needs. So you can kind of see the session breakdown from like the garden to table program to the special needs dance to, we see here summer 2019 takes the cake with 261 different registrations. This one may be hard to see, but it kind of breaks down per class in 2019. What classes got the most registration? So it looks like the Creative Arts and Time Traveler Camp got 93 registration. That leads the way in 2019. 2020, again, this is just probably very beginning of 2020. And so you can kind of see which classes, I would say the winter-ish, winter, because by spring we were all locked down, right? What was leading the way. And it's our intro to sewing class. There were 11 registrations for that. So you can kind of see the breakdown. And so some of the classes are similar. So you can see like there's a fairy ballet class for different age groups or at different days and times. And we can kind of get an idea of what our community prefers, right? Is it the Tuesday date? Is it the Wednesday date? Do we prefer 10:30 versus 11:30 to help us kind of plan for future programming? I know there was a time during this time, there was some drop-in programs. West African dance took the cake with 33 registrations. There was another column, another set of registrations that were also listed as African dance. I didn't want to make assumptions of whether it was the same program or same drop-in. But so if they are, then you can see West African dance is really, really popular. And it kind of also, I broke it down by drop-in date, so we can kind of get a better idea of what dates work better for our community members, right? What dates do people want to come in or are more available or more inclined to drop into Ridgeville and engage in programming? So now we go into kind of neighborhood breakdown. What's pretty cool about Ridgeville is we are reaching all the way to Virginia, Ohio, which probably means they're like families or somebody that are visiting or traveling and they're registered too. But we have a really strong like Chicago space, Old Town, Hollywood Park, Rogers Park. And so I think that probably also has to do with Natalie's outreach efforts in her kind of community area, but I think that's speaks volumes to Ridgeville's reach. I thought it would be really interesting to kind of take a look at the ward again. So again, 9th and 8th ward should be leading the way, but it's interesting to see how Ridgeville interacts with our community members from other wards. And so with the summer camp data, Ridgeville has touched just about every ward except for the 5th ward. So that could be something we can focus on, strategies, which we have met with like the new alderperson from the 5th ward and figure out different ways to engage more with that community space. This one may also be hard to see on this computer screen, but you can also see a session breakdown by ward and city. So, you know, you can see our community members by ward and where they like, what they like to participate in and how we're engaging, right? And so Summers seems to get a big chunk or a huge diversity of kids or community members engaging. The drop in a little bit, you know, so we can take a look and kind of just break down where folks are coming from and what they're interested by ward. And for this kind of this graph, instead of highlighting all the different like West Rogers Park, you know, Old Town, I just kind of put Chicago. And because of like getting the one or two folks from like Wilmette or Winnetka or Glenview, I kind of labeled that as surrounding suburbs. But Skokie, we reached Skokie community members or residents pretty well. I think there's at least 20, 30 people from Skokie that engage with Ridgeville. I thought, especially since we offer scholarships, I thought it would be interesting to kind of get an idea of the breakdown of scholarships. So for 2019, 66 scholarships were given. And there's also a breakdown of like senior citizens that we serve. So about 10% of our community members that serve or engage with Ridgeville are senior citizens, and 21% of the scholarships went to our senior citizen community. It's also really interesting to see, I think, the number of scholarships per session. So like summer clearly leads the way, but there are some scholarships offered for like, you know, the Garden to Table program, for probably like the winter break programs. So we can kind of see how Ridgeville is best supporting the community. Another interesting thing I thought would be cool to note would be scholarships by ward. And so these are the only places that have asked for scholarships. So they're coming from 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 8th, and 9th in Chicago. And from my understanding, those who ask for scholarships actually get the scholarship. So I think that's awesome. And so these data points, I think, can help especially Natalie kind of plan and outreach and engage with the community, and kind of see and restructure kind of what's working. So if we're doing like ballet at 2:00 in the afternoon and we see that it's happening best, or most folks are registering at 11, then maybe that's a pivot or shift that we can make to increase engagement and better serve Evanston folks. Any questions, comments, thoughts about the data points?
Thank you for doing that, Tracy. That is so helpful for me. I know we've talked a little bit about that, but also just so everybody knows, I ran reports for her from our WUFU account for registration forms, and it was very, very rough data that I sent her. So what she was able to do with that was really incredible. So thank you so much.
Of course.
Thank you, Tracy. That was great.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Well, I have just a quick question, and I guess this maybe goes to Natalie. I noticed that some of the classes we have like one registration, in those. So is that something that we look then at, like, is that a class we continue to offer, or is that something that we cut to apply resources elsewhere?
What's the process there?
What's kind of the thinking behind that?
Yeah, so the data that I ran for her was for the 2020 fiscal year. So a lot of those classes that you saw, like 1 or 2 people registered for in 2020, it was all canceled. I had to shut down registration. So that was representative of what would have been moving into our spring session that year. So that's why that was so small. But also, if we do have a class, so the classes essentially have to break even. So whatever we're paying an instructor hourly, they set their hourly, it's fine. If you want to make $100 an hour, great, but your registration has to warrant that. So nobody actually asked for $100 an hour. I'm just using that as an extreme example. So if we have enough registration to warrant what we're paying for the class, then it can run. If it doesn't, if we don't have enough folks registered, or if there's just too few, if there's only 1 or 2, then we'll cancel it and refund that patron, or we can push that registration to the next session and see if we can get it to run again.
And do we tend to, and this may be more information than you can provide right now, but do we tend to see like a class that is continually canceled, and at what point do we just kind of cut our loss on that class and decide this isn't something for Ridgeville, we're going to apply it elsewhere?
I've found in my almost 6-year tenure as program director that sometimes things need to be put to bed or recycled later. So like when for example, people wanted Spanish classes. That was a big ask. So I found a Spanish teacher. We got that running, had great registration for that class. And then slowly it started trickling down to where we canceled it probably 2 or 3 sessions in a row. So we put it to rest. And then I was approached last year by an organization called Language in Action, and we're partnering with them. And now we've got tons of registration for their Spanish classes. So I just work with the instructor. We'll usually try to let it ride for like maybe 2 or 3 sessions. If we don't have any registration, then we usually let it go. Okay. And then if somebody requests it 2 years later, we try to run it again.
All right, thanks.
Mm-hmm. Tracy, I'd like to say it's nice to finally meet you, even if just online.
Oh, it's so nice to meet you too, Debbie. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also looking forward to our block party. It's going to be so much fun.
Yeah, we did pick a date. It's going to be August 20th. That's Tracy and I's next big project. So
where is it going to be?
Reba Park.
Park.
We've got the new play circuit going in there, and we've got the mud tables going in, and the youth grow team is doing some beautiful landscaping over there. So we're gonna have it there, and I don't program there, so it'll be a great opportunity to meet those neighbors and do something fun.
Sounds good. Sounds like a good location.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you, Tracy.
Thank you.
Natalie.
Thanks, Tracy.
Have a good night.
You
Good
too.
night.
Thank you, Tracy.
I'm sorry. What? Okay. JC? Are you here? There she is, I think.
I'm sorry, my computer's very slow today. It's thinking it's the weekend already. I first just wanted to say, I don't know if Tracy's still here, but I was excited. She's doing a training for District 65 caretakers on equity, and I'm very excited about that. I signed up for that one. I also wanted to let you all know we've had a member step off of the Ready Committee. Iden Bernstein Nolan will no longer be a part of the Ready Committee. We are so very grateful for her participation. In her time on the committee, she was able to connect with the organization Young, Black, and Lit to bring books representing children of color to the Ridgeville Park District Library. And her perspective as a mother to biracial children and a teacher to children with special needs was crucial to the committee and will be dearly missed. She's also a wonderful and warm person who draws others to her, and the connections she's had in the community were incredibly beneficial to our group. We are very sad to see her go, but know her connection to Ridgeville will remain, and we look forward to having her and her family be a part of our community forever. The next item that I have listed as for action is in regards to a new Ready Committee member. Andrew Weimer had contacted me and expressed interest in being in the committee. I spoke to him individually first, and then I had him attend our most recent meeting. He continues to be interested in joining the committee. We did the same thing with him that Dr. Effiam had done with the rest of us, where he came to a meeting, he was able to ask questions. And then we asked him to take a week to make sure that he's able to make this commitment to the committee, which he is able to do. He unfortunately did have a prior commitment today. He said he could hop in and out of meetings, but I figure with our timing being not necessarily on point, that it would just be easier to either, I don't know if you all would feel comfortable appointing him if he's not here, or we can also table that to next month. He will be able to make next month's meeting if that works out better for you all.
How do people feel about appointing him, not being here, not meeting him?
I'm okay with it.
Anybody else?
I mean, I didn't meet him, but I was at the last Ready Committee, so I kind of listened to him and everything, and I'm fine with him, but it's up to the people who have not met him really to make their decision.
I'd like to meet him, but if everybody else is okay with it. Mick, how do you feel about it?
I think I'd be okay with it. I feel like us appointing him would help them keep the ball rolling and get work done. I think I trust JC and Matt's opinion, and I'd be happy to let them move forward with it. That's my opinion.
Okay, I'm fine with it if there's a majority, but I'd like to meet him at the next meeting if possible.
He said he was available to come. I can't imagine that him being appointed in this meeting would change that. So I'll get in touch with him and have him come to the next meeting.
Okay, do we need to make a motion and second and vote? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to appoint Andrew Weimer to the Racial Equity, Diversity and Inclusion Committee.
I will second it. I just have a quick question.
Oh, okay, I made the motion. I said I
made the motion. I'm seconding it. That's
okay.
Fine.
Okay.
For discussion though, I just have a quick question. Do we appoint, are these kind of open-ended, or is there a term for, like, they serve for a year, 2 years, or something like that? Or is it just kind of an open-ended thing? I'm asking because I'm not really sure.
We never gave there was never, a maximum that somebody could serve, right? Like it wasn't like, you can only be on the committee for 2 years. But there was a request that at least a year of commitment was given, but there's not like a cutoff point. And at this point, I would love to get to a point where we had so many people interested, we had to filter people in and out. Andrew is the only person that we've had show interest since the formation of the committee. And I think that would be a really great thing to work towards, of having so many people interested that we need to, recycle people in and out.
Yeah, and I'm not suggesting that people they serve for 2 years and then they can't serve again or anything like that. I just, I think, because I heard the discussion at your meeting about we're asking kind of for like a year commitment or something like that. So I think if we, maybe not for this one, but maybe we look at creating terms so that people kind of have a level of commitment that I'm signing on for a 1 year or a 2 year term or whatever it is, and I can be renewed every year. That's fine. But that kind of makes it a little more like not casually dropping in and out sort of a thing without having to say, we're saying we want a 1-term commit or 1-year commitment from you without actually saying we need you to commit 1 year.
I do. I see. And I also think that that legitimizes the positions more, right? If we're being
Right.
reevaluated and the board is really thinking through who's on the committee. I
Right.
think you know, of course I would have to get the rest. I mean, not that we get to decide, but I'd be interested, you know, what the rest of the committee thought about that also. But
Yeah, I'm not going to hold this up and say this is going to be a 1 year or anything like that. I just think as moving forward, we should look into that.
not a bad idea.
Debbie, you're still on mute.
Sorry. Okay. If there's no more discussion, we'll take the vote. Julie?
Braun,
Yes.
Mitchell,
Yes.
Morel,
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Andrew Weimer has been approved as the new person on the Ready Committee.
I'm really excited. I don't want to speak. I don't, you know him too well, but he's coming, I think, with a good skill set and a good set of connections that I think are really going to be important for the committee and for the Park District. So I'm excited. Thank you all so much.
I have one question.
Yes.
Does the Ready Committee at this point still remain an all-white committee?
Well, I do not identify as white.
Okay.
So no.
Okay.
I'm not going to speak to anyone else's racial identity on the committee. You would have to ask each member individually. But you know, since I do not identify as white, I would say no, it's not an all-white committee.
Okay.
How many members do we have currently? I know we can have up to 5, but we've added 1, but we've lost 1.
So we're back at 5.
We're back at 5 still? Okay.
Right. Until Martha moves. Right, because she's still on the committee currently.
Right.
And then we'll be down another one depending on what decisions are made around that.
So I guess how many, because Martha's there as a board representative. And the citizens, we can have 3 to 5, is that correct? So do we have 3 citizens?
We do. So I serve as a citizen. I'm not a Ridgeville employee on the committee. And then Elaine Siegel and now Andrew are the 3 citizens. And then Natalie fills the senior staff piece, and Martha fills the board piece.
Right.
But we could have more committee members, or I'm sorry, community members on the committee.
That's what I was trying to figure out.
And I would love to. I'm hoping this is something that Andrew can help us out with. And specifically to Debbie's point, I'm hoping that we can get more people of color on the committee.
Yeah, I would like to see that.
Me too. I mean, that's why we're here, right? Like we want to get those voices in here. We just have been unsuccessful up until this point getting that to happen. Are there any other questions on that, or can I go on to the next? Good.
I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good.
So the next recommended action that we have is having the Park District adopt Juneteenth as officially as a holiday. So just to let you know how we came to the decision that we did. We know we discussed in meetings, we each did some research. We invited Kimon Hendricks of Evanston, present, past, and future, to come to the committee meeting to help us kind of figure out, you know, we had a few questions. So in case you don't know, the way that Juneteenth was adopted statewide is different from the way that it was adopted federally. Statewide, the name of the holiday is National Freedom Day. And if the holiday falls on either a Saturday or Sunday, there is not a paid holiday attached to it. That's what the state decided to do. The Ready Committee is recommending following the federal guidelines, not the state guidelines, which would mean if June 19th were to fall on either a Saturday or Sunday, it would function the same way that, you know, for example, the 4th of July functions. You know, if June 19th were to land on a Saturday, then the Friday before would be the paid holiday. If it were to fall on a Sunday, then Monday would be the paid holiday. And then just to let you know, in terms of paid holiday, that would include full-time staff. And then it would also include like permanent part-time staff. So when it comes to, that was one of the questions that I had for Natalie, it would not include, you know, the entire summer staff. They would get the day off, but the camp staff would not get paid for Juneteenth because they're not full-time employees and they're not permanent part-time employees. We also recommend keeping the name Juneteenth as opposed to the name National Freedom Day, because we felt it was more closely aligned with what the holiday has been called in the past. It's one of the names that has been used for, you know, a really long time, and other cities have had Juneteenth celebrations for decades. So we felt that using the name Juneteenth, following the federal guidelines of having a paid holiday off, paid day off for the holiday, even if it falls on the weekend, really was the way to honor and legitimize the holiday in our city. It would also be going in lines with a lot of the other celebrations that happen in Evanston are referred to as Juneteenth as opposed to the National Freedom Day. And then another point that was brought up was, you know, people might not necessarily recognize the difference between Independence Day and Freedom Day. You know, we really wanted it to be clear that the celebration was for, you know, the emancipation on June 19th and not for, you know, the earlier independence holiday that we celebrate. I think that's everything. Does anyone have any, you know, questions, or can I clarify anything? It was a little confusing getting through like the state and the federal differences. But yeah, I don't know if anyone has any questions.
So you're saying with, so staff would get a holiday, full-time staff.
Full-time staff.
What about teachers? No, because they're private contractors.
Correct.
Okay.
So it would be the office staff.
Yeah. And the maid.
Right. And then
And the grounds
Jung
crew?
is part-time, but it would still include her, even though she's not full-time, but she's year-round part-time.
Who's that?
Jung?
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah. Okay. So the grounds.
So it's not
crew-
a day off. It's just a paid holiday is what you're suggesting.
Right.
It is a day off. The Park District office would be closed.
Oh,
on
okay.
So
June
no
19th.
programs would run that day.
Okay.
No classes, no programs.
Correct. Now, Natalie and I have gone back and forth a little bit about this summer, right? Because when the summer registration for camp went out, it is not, right, currently, you know,
Oh, yeah.
Juneteenth is not taken off as a day that camp is going to be closed. You know, I personally, this is not something that we got to discuss as a committee because it came up afterwards. I personally am torn. I think that might be a decision that you all are going to have to figure out, because I feel, you know, families were told that camp was going to be running on that day. At this point, we could start that day off for, you know, camp being next year. But I also feel very strongly that this gets done as soon as possible. And I really do feel that we have the kind of community that would be understanding if we were to close camp down on that day. I don't think that we would get, and you know, I very well could be wrong, but I really don't think we're going to get a lot of pushback on that. I think our families are very supportive of this.
So what programs, what camps are running that at that time? Natalie, do you know?
All of them.
Oh,
Well, it's not the August, right? The August camps aren't running. It's
The mini camps
5 to 7.
Our partner mini camps don't run until August. So in June, on that date, that would specifically mean our camps for 1st through 7th graders, our CIT program, and that would be a Monday. So that would mean one day of T-ball.
People, I can say, you know, I'm really torn. I think we should start it as soon as possible. However, if it were going to be like a full camp day, you know, it's not really it can make it difficult for some families that assume their kid's going to be in camp all day. But if it's going to affect T-ball, I mean, that's what, an hour, and that's in the
Oh, yeah,
afternoon that a parent comes with anyway, right?
Yeah, and I agree with what JC said. She and I talked about this, and I have no problem letting our families who are currently registered for camp and those who will be registering for camp know about this. I agree with her. I don't think there's going to be a lot of pushback. However, that being said, that's not how it was printed in the brochure or how people have registered. So if you do adopt it today and you wish for it to go into effect in terms of that day off, you could do that for 2023. You could adopt it now and like the day off effective starting in 2023.
So my personal preference, since we've already promoted this and everything, and since the actual holiday does fall on a weekend this year, is to adopt it for 2023, and figure out a time to give our staff, maybe, if that's possible. That's why I was asking what camps were, because I don't know how involved staff is in day-to-day of the camps. Of giving our staff that time off, but not rearranging our program schedule until next year, as kind of an easy way to do it. Because I think when Biden did the Juneteenth this year, it happened like literally right before, and it was just total chaos because nobody knew what to do or anything else. So I mean, my personal preference would be for us this year to arrange for a paid day off for staff, if we can do that without interrupting programming, allow the programming to occur on that Monday. And then next year, when the date does occur on the Monday, arrange so our programming reflects that. That's my personal preference. I don't know how anybody else feels about that.
Can I just say something about that, Matt?
No.
No, you can't. Fine. I think that's great. The staff we are all necessary during the day for summer program. I think it would be fair to say, if everybody feels that way, I think it's fair to say that we adopt the holiday. We're recognizing it. It won't be a paid holiday day off until the following in 2023. I think that's fair because we are all pretty darn necessary.
And that's fine. That's fair. Like I said, I didn't know how involved everybody was in the day-to-day of the camps. So I was looking for a compromise there, but if it's not going to work, my suggestion then would be to do exactly that next year it becomes a paid holiday, but we adopt it this year with the recognition of Juneteenth. And I think Juneteenth is an important name. It's what's on all the calendars. It's, again, to avoid any confusion, calling it like National Freedom Day, or I know there's another term for it that has the word independence in it, which makes it even more confusing. So that would be, my personal preference would be for us to adopt the holiday as Juneteenth, and beginning in 2023, it would be a paid holiday for staff, and we would arrange programming accordingly.
I agree.
Sorry, I just wanted to add, Natalie and I talked about that if camp stays open this year, we can do a Juneteenth celebration on that day then.
Yeah, that's what I was going to suggest.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say too.
Make it a special June.
And I think obviously, I'm sure Natalie would already, our social media outlets, we could promote it that way. But I do agree with Matt. I think as programming has been set, I think we should start that the following year. I don't know if, a time and a half option would be possible for staff if we do want to treat it as, as a holiday. That would be a question for our treasurer, and if that's in the budget, or for Brian. But yes, and I'm definitely on. I had never even. Yes, Juneteenth is what we should call it. I agree. Brian, it looks like you're up.
Yeah, if the staff worked on any holiday the board approves, it's time and a half for the maintenance staff. Natalie and myself, we don't get overtime, so we would just work whatever was needed, but it would be treated like every other holiday. So if it fell on a Monday through Friday, and we were involved in some Juneteenth celebration and the staff work, they get paid time and a half for that holiday, like any other 4th of July, Christmas Day, whatever.
Great.
Brian, thank you for bringing that up, because that's the other thing to keep in mind, is that just because the office is closed does not mean there would not be programming, right? Like there's sometimes on the 4th of July, there's events happening in the park still. So that's something to keep in mind too. The technically it's the office that closes, but the park district and its functioning and its celebrations and such would not necessarily stop.
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I guess if we're looking for a motion,
Yes, please.
is that what we're looking for here? I will go ahead and make it. I move that the Ridgeville Park District recognize June 19th as officially the Juneteenth holiday, and that if it falls on a weekend, it be treated as other holidays that fall on weekends occur, moving it on a Saturday, moving it to a Friday, or on the Sunday, moving it to the Monday, and that it be a paid holiday for staff, for full-time and full part-time staff, and that that officially begin in June of 2023. I think that covers off on everything.
I'll second that, Braun. But I can't repeat it. But I'll second it.
That's why we're recorded, so everybody can get down all of that information.
That's true. Okay, any further discussion on that? Okay, Julie?
Braun,
Yes?
Mitchell,
Yes.
Morrell,
Yes.
and Rogers.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I'm really excited about that, and I think the community is going to be really excited about that also. All right, the next thing I have for you all today. So as you may remember, the charter that the board passed states that any new commissioners, committee members, and employees will undergo equity training. We have all of those. The committee researched different training possibilities. Each member went, tried to find things that we thought would be a really good fit for the board. But we did conclude that the YWCA is the best fit for the park district's needs. Not only is our programming very specifically tailored to the community work that the commissioners and the employees for the park district do, we also felt that because it's a local organization and we have a unique equity journey in Evanston, we felt that that was the best fit. So we are hoping that you all will make a motion to, allow new commissioners, new committee members, and new employees to go through training at the YWCA as is stated in the equity charter.
Allow or require?
I would have to look at the exact wording of the charter, but it's my understanding that this was an agreement that was voted on.
That's what
That this is something that would happen, that this is one of the steps that we were going to be taking to become an anti-racist organization.
So it's required, I think, would be a better.
I agree.
Okay, can I entertain a motion for that?
Well, so before we do a motion, I just have a question. If it's already in a document that's been adopted,
It's specifically to have people go to the YWCA and for that like funding and everything to be accomplished.
okay, that's why I was getting a little confused here. I'm like, we already have this in the document. So I guess as a new board member here, it would be helpful if like someone gave me direction. So I guess that's what I would like to see is like, here are some courses because I don't know where to begin the path necessarily.
I'll do
and that's
that.
what this is.
So
I gotcha.
So I guess I will make the motion that new employees, commissioners, and committee members who have not gone through equity training already be required to attend an appropriate class or classes at the YWCA Equity Institute within the next 6 months. I know that when at the Ready Committee, there was discussion on timing. So I'm going to put the 6-month timing in there.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So that it falls into having a time limit on it. And that's plenty of time for us to rearrange schedules, find classes that work, because I don't know how often all those classes are available either. So that's my motion.
Okay, I'll second it. Oh,
Can I
discussion.
have it?
Sure.
I just wanted to tell Matt. So I will email all of you following this, if this goes through, and let you know the Equity Institute schedule of courses right now. They change every couple of months. So, if this has to happen within a 6-month period, then there will probably be a few different options within that time frame. But I will email you all, and I'll get you all registered for whatever you want to go to.
Yeah, and if you can point us to what classes we need, because I don't know what their offerings are, and I wouldn't know how to select one to meet what is expected.
I'll give you a whole breakdown. You tell me what you like. I'll hook you up.
Okay.
I got it.
Okay, any more discussion? All right, let's take.
I support this. I think it's a great idea. And I've taken a lot of these, almost all the racial equity workshops through the Park District. I think they're valuable. They're kind of piecemeal. There's not like a 101 intro course. They're like on topic, which is great. But do we have any direction on the course?
So something to keep in mind, part of the reason why we need to do this way is because we don't have an equity consultant. Once we have an equity consultant, we should be able to, depending on how that contract gets laid out, that person should be able to not only answer those questions, point us in the right directions, but maybe even do some of those trainings internally. We just, as the committee got back up and running, we realized that there was a few things that we should have been attending to and hadn't. And this was one of them, right? Like we've had all these new people come in, there's new employees. So this is just, in the meantime, is to kind of fill that gap.
I think that's great. And then I would just offer, I would follow the Ready Committee's recommendations for courses of study of things that we're going to offer or pay for.
Excellent. Yeah, we've peeked around, like Natalie said. She's got it down. She'll get you guys all the info. Or I guess you don't have to go, Matt, but everyone else who has to go, she'll let you know what's recommended.
Sounds great.
Okay. Ready for a vote? All right, Julie?
Ron,
Yes.
Mitchell,
Yes.
Morrell,
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. So Natalie will get that information out to the members that need to take it, right? All right.
Yes,
Thank you.
commissioners, Andrew, and then there's some new employees that will go also that have been
Sure.
hired since. Fantastic.
Hey, I'm
All
sorry.
right, I have one. I know I had a lot of stuff for you all today. We did some good work in these last few weeks. I think this is the thing that I am the most excited to bring to you all today. This is the request for proposal for an equity consultant. And I really just wanted to start off by thanking Natalie. I was really impressed by what she was able to pull together. I think it was very thorough. I love the way that she included all the extra documents, information from Dr. Effiam, just to kind of get us back up to speed and a reminder of where we've been and where we are planning on going. I do just have one comment. I would like for us to be, and especially when there's not a lot of, other citizens here, I think it's sometimes hard to remember. But I would like for us to be cognizant of how we're referring to things. Initially, Commissioner Rogers, when you brought up an RFP, I wasn't sure what that meant. And I think it's important for us to be speaking in the public meetings in a way where any citizen that's going to be watching this, whether they're currently here watching it and recording later, that they, be able to understand what's happening as it's happening and not be able, not need to stop and do research. Clearly referring to it in its acronym, later in the meeting would be fine, but at least in the very beginning, so that, citizens who are not familiar with these terms or how government works can be, really still included in the conversation because they know what's happening. But so I'm going to turn this over to Natalie. I think this is really exciting. So thank you so much, Natalie.
My pleasure. I'm just gonna, I had sent this to you all weeks ago, so I'm hoping that you've had a chance to look over it because I don't want to take up too much time. It's pretty long. But just to go over a few different things. So I used the following, and just to say it publicly so that the community knows what I used to create this document. I used an RFP template, a request for proposal template, from a company called Common Bound. That specific organization seemed to kind of resemble something similar to what we are. They're not a park district, but what they were looking for was pretty close to what we were looking for. So I used that as kind of a baseline. And then there were things from documents that already existed and were on the website. So I used our website and the equity page that I had built with Dr. Effiam. I used the equity charter. I used the racial equity lens process. I used the equity climate assessment report from Effiam and Associates. I used the equity consultant contract made by Charles Valente, our attorney. And then I also used the equity consultant agreement that was made by Dr. Logan, J.C. Herman, and myself. What I really need to know from the board were the things that I had highlighted in yellow. So I will go through that now, or do you want to discuss anything before that or have questions?
I'll just say that this is well put together. There is no true 100% formula for throwing this together. But at least it really serves as a document for all of us to agree what we're looking for. So when we go to find somebody, we have something to measure it against. And so, it really is whatever we want to put in it is fine. But it's the expectation so that when we talk to somebody, they know what we're looking for, we know what we're looking for, and we kind of have boxes somewhat to check to say, how do you think about this? Or we are looking for this. So I think this is a great document, and I appreciate the time that you've put into it. And I'm fine. I don't know about the rest of the commissioners. I'm fine just kind of looking at those highlighted areas as opposed to going through the whole thing in great detail, because there is a lot here, and a lot of it has already sort of been accepted and or adopted by the board. So there really isn't anything to change in that. It's really these first 3 pages that kind of talk about what we're doing.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know how other people feel.
I agree.
Matt, you okay with it?
Yes.
I got a thumbs up from Mick.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. I guess I wasn't looking. I didn't know which Mick. Okay.
Oh, that's okay. Okay, great. So then let me do that quickly. And also before I start on these yellow pieces, let me also just say, I did send a draft of this specifically to Charles before I even went over it with the Ready Committee. So I do have his blessing on everything in here. There's a portion that you'll see is highlighted blue. That was a specific change I had made for Charles. He's not here tonight, but he is aware that I've made that change. So the first thing I need an answer to, it's on page 2. The highlighted piece says the selected consultant will report directly to the Ready Committee chair and executive director of Ridgeville Park District as necessary. This is kind of a question that's coming out of something that will come up later in the meeting tonight, which is the hiring of contract employees that are going to be consultants or advisors. So my question is this flow of reporting appropriate? Does the board feel that's appropriate, or do you feel like this consultant needs to report directly to like the president?
I think personally that it should say the selected consultant will report directly to the Board of Commissioners and or their designee, so that we can designate, they don't always have to come to us for everything. They can handle things at the Ready Committee level. But since this is being paid for by the board, and I feel that we're the ones who are actually contracting them, not the Ready Committee. So they should report to us, or however we decide to do it. And so the day-to-day practical aspect of it will be, most of the time they will be working with the Ready Committee, but if they need something, they should come to us, since we can provide funding if that's necessary, or if there's a policy issue, we have to direct that as opposed to the Ready Committee. So it really should be to the board and or their designee.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. The board, because we're paying the person, it should definitely be to the board or to who, yeah.
For efficiency's sake, I would right now designate that the person should direct reports directly to the executive director. I just think in terms of day-to-day, partly because of the Open Meetings Act, is there can't be any back and forth.
No, but if we can designate that at that time. That's the beauty of us listing it as and or their designee.
Sure, but why don't we just designate it right now?
Because we're the ones that are paying for it, and I think that we
pay for everything.
When we should have final say on it. And by saying whoever we designate, we can afterwards say to the, to the park director. But I think to write it in, it should be directly to the board and whoever they designate. But it shouldn't be to the Ready Committee chair.
Yeah, I mean, I follow that. I think just more for efficiency sake, I would have them report to the executive director.
Can I ask a question real fast?
Sure.
So if the consultant has items for me to put on an agenda for a Ready meeting, would that then go through Brian first?
No, I wouldn't think so.
See, that's why I think it's better for us to list and or their designee, because we can break up then certain things that happen, that you will be designated as Ready Committee chair. The executive director would be designated for certain things, but we retain our power of the hiring, firing, all of that sort of stuff comes through us. Because as soon as we say that they report to somebody other than the board, we've kind of removed ourselves somewhat from the chain of command.
The executive director answers to us, though. If we want to hire or fire anybody, we direct the executive director to do something. So I just feel like we're micromanaging here in a way that is going to get in the way of efficiency, and that there's nothing that would keep us from hiring, firing, and or directing the executive director to meet our expectations.
But we can put that in, but at least we maintain the control. I mean, I don't think we're far apart. It's just
I'm not either, and my efficiency is my
well,
real
I think
concern.
we can make it efficient by saying, yes, we designate these things for the executive director to be over.
Can I make a quick point? I did pull this chunk from the contract that Charles made. So I could take that sentence out entirely on this RFP, and we could leave it to the contract we could talk to Charles about just adjusting the contract, or I could leave the line and say they report directly to the Board of Commissioners and or designee per the service agreement.
I think
And
that's,
then we can clarify it in that document so there's no questions, or I could just take it out of this because it
Doesn't need
doesn't
to be in
necessarily
this
have to be in this
document.
proposal.
yeah, it doesn't need to be in this proposal.
I agree, it doesn't need to be in the RFP. That said, like I'm concerned about the efficiency of it, and Natalie kind of acknowledged that this is going to come up later in the meeting about the hiring consultants, which I agree with the language of, except for the efficiency argument that I think consultants should report to the executive director.
I think it could cause an efficiency problem if there's ever any, gray area of who's making this decision, who's telling you to do this, who's allowing this.
I don't understand.
For the sake of the proposal, if you'd like, I can just strike that sentence.
Right, strike it from
Because
right.
it will need to be in the contract.
Yeah,
So
but
then,
not in the
once we get to
proposal.
that point, then we can talk to Charles about how you guys want to do that. And the answer might actually be cleared up based on what's going to happen later tonight.
Sounds
Are
good.
you okay with that, Matt?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, yes?
Yes.
Having two Matts is really bad. Okay,
Matt Rogers, are you comfortable with me striking that?
Yes.
Okay. Mick, your blessing? Okay, great. All right. Stricken.
that was easy.
Great, that was good. Just a few more quick ones. Okay, cool. So moving on to page 3. So the first one that I have here is just kind of a logistical thing. We can figure that out. But it's really a question of what you want this process to look like. So once we understand what the process is going to look like, then I'll be able to fill in like time and date. So that's why that first one is highlighted. So I guess my question for you, and actually for everything on this part of the process, is how do you want this to go? Do you want me to schedule interviews during board meetings? Do you want me to schedule individual meetings with commissioners? How do you want to move forward with anybody who might respond to this request? And also, is it you that you want to review the responses? That was the other thing that I had highlighted here.
So I mean,
Go ahead, Matt.
I mean, the way that I would like to see it work, hopefully, is that since we're putting out the RFP as the Board of Commissioners, we should receive the applicants and sort of check to make sure that they meet the requirements of our RFP. And then we should ask the Ready Committee to conduct the interviews on our behalf of those people, because we're it's sort of like we're pre-screening somewhat those people to make sure that they are what we're kind of looking for, and then asking the Ready Committee, here's 3 people, talk to them, find out if they can do the specifics of what you're looking for, if you're comfortable working with them, these sorts of things, and then them to come back to us with a written recommendation as to who they are recommending, and a slight overview of why that person, and just general impressions of things. And then we will make our decision based on that. To me,
so when the Ready Committee, so what you're suggesting, the Ready Committee would interview whoever passes your pre-screen, and then we would bring you one recommendation, or like top 3 or top 2?
It sort of depends on how many people we get. I mean, if we say you're going to bring us the top 3, but only 2 people apply, and you're comfortable with one of those 2, saying bringing the top 3 doesn't make sense. So I would like to see a recommendation for, this is the one we feel most comfortable with and why.
Okay.
We feel that they are a good mix. The committee felt comfortable with where they were where they were coming from. We felt they would be a good mesh. They understand Evanston, whatever the rationale is for why that person is being selected. We would like to know who the rest of the people are, which we'll kind of know because we've pre-screened them to make sure that they meet the RFP requirements that we're looking for. And I mean, it's just sort of, with an RFP, you never exactly know how many applications you're going to get. We might get 1, we might get 10. You never know for sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I was going to say. I think this should be the Ready Committee should be not making the final decision, but it should be their choice. So, and like Matt was saying, if we get 10, the board has the option to say, okay, well, we're going to sift through these. We like these 3. Here, Ready Committee, interview and choose from these 3. Now, if we only get 3, right, we may say, okay, choose from these 2, or this was the only person that met the conditions of the RFP, give them to the Ready Committee, and now the Ready Committee can say, yes, this works great. Or they may say, well, this is the only person, but they're not going to work with us either. Hopefully that doesn't happen. We're back at square one. But I think the Board of Commissioners will kind of sift through it and then give the Ready Committee our top favorites, whatever you want to call it. And then they can have the final decision on who they want the most. How do you feel about that? I don't know. Can JC talk right now? JC, how do you feel about that?
I think that sounds fantastic. I mean, clearly, I can't speak for the whole committee, but I think that's a really good process, because I think whoever we work with is going to have to be someone that the board feels is a good fit and the Ready Committee feels is a good fit. I like this idea of having, multiple eyes on either end, so that we're making sure that these people that are going to be coming in, this is a lot of money, right? Like I don't want to downplay, and I hope I never have downplayed that this is a lot of money. And I want to make sure that we are doing the absolute best work that we can do, and we need the best person for the job. And I think that having multiple people looking through everything is the best way to have that happen.
It also makes it so we don't set you up for failure. If we
Right,
just
so
give,
that we
we
don't
just
bring
give
someone
you,
that-
say, here's all the applications, and you go, we love this person, and we go, yeah, we don't feel that this is a good mix because of X, Y, or Z. So we're giving you people that we feel would work in here, and you're kind of picking the people you feel most comfortable with and that you feel would be the best match for you to achieve the goals that you want to achieve.
I do.
So, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Matt Mitchell, did you want to say something? I just have a time question, so I've got part B to my.
Okay, I agree with the direction this is going. My only concern is transparency at the pre-screen level. It just seems a little unclear to me. I think obviously it would have to take that pre-screening would have to take place at an open meeting, and as long as it's transparent and there's objective criteria that we're weeding people out as part of the process.
But am I confused? We're not meeting, the board is not meeting the people in person.
No.
So just to clarify quickly, can I tell from what I'm hearing, here's how I feel like this is going to happen. Because I'm your corporate secretary, I will need to receive the resumes. I will forward the resumes to the board. And then looking ahead at timeline, if we want to get this done by the end of the year, or at least by June, what I would do is put this RFP out. The deadline to receive, we would set the deadline to receive resumes so that you've all received them in time to go over them individually by the May meeting. And then publicly at the May meeting, we would discuss all of the candidates, and by we, I mean you. And then you would make your recommendations to us on who you would like us to take next steps with. The Ready Committee will then interview whoever you recommend, who passes the pre-screen. And then by June, we could come back to the board and make a recommendation.
That sounds.
Does that all sound right?
It sounds right to me.
Yes, I think that's a good timeline
Matt,
and
are you
process.
comfortable with that?
Love it. Easy peasy. Okay, great. So I will make adjustments to this RFP. And I think that was all I had on here. I guess my last question for Matt or for anybody, in terms of posting this request for proposal, I'll do the things I normally do in terms of like posting it on the website, sending it out to like local organizations. Do you have any other recommendations on where specifically to post this?
I don't know if there is, I mean, I don't know if there's a professional group of equity consultants or anything like that. I mean, you might ask somebody at the YW if there is some sort of a, you know, professional group of.
Or maybe Tracy would know that.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe
I'll ask Tracy. I'll ask Tracy, and I'll also, that's a great point, Matt. I will send it to, because the YW Equity Institute works with partner consultants.
Right.
And so I'll send them the RFP to then
Yes.
offer to their partners. And then if any of their partners wish to reply, then they'll have the information on how to do that.
Yeah, and you might just, yeah, and you might just ask someone over there also if there's like another organization.
Source, yeah. Okay. I'm sorry, one last thing. The criteria, so this is on page 3 as well, underneath process. This is something I had pulled from the template, and I made some adjustments according to like what I thought our needs were. Is the board hopes that the selections will be based on the following criteria: understanding of an approach, demonstrated qualifications and experience in this work, including the ability to affect real change, having performed similar services for small to mid-sized units of government, references, and proposed fees. Is there anything that you feel I need to add to that, or are you comfortable with those 4 bullet points?
I'm comfortable with those 4 without getting too specific, because those are tangibles that we can sort of measure against, because we want our pre-screen to be held up against something, as opposed to, oh, I just don't like this person, or whatever the, you know, process might be. So that's something that we can look at and say, has this person explained to us to our satisfaction that they understand what equity work is, that they have done this before, and they provided some references to us. I mean, the proposed fees is kind of the proposed fees. I mean, if somebody literally comes in and says, I want $25,000, we know that they are not going to fit in with us because we don't have $25,000. So I'm fine with that criteria. And I think that's when I was talking about us kind of pre-screening, those are the sorts of things I think it's up to us to sort of pre-screen against.
I think the proposed fee is an important piece, so that we also know if the consultant will be charging an hourly fee or be charging like you know, biannually. We've worked, or almost, you know, consultants that charge differently. So I think that's the telling thing that would be good for us to know.
The one thing that you might want to consider in with the proposed fees is explaining a little more, like, is that an hourly? Because then we would want to know, well, how many hours are you providing to us as well? I mean, if you just say, I'm proposing my fees are $150 an hour. Well,
so proposed fees and payment schedule, or
and a fee structure or something like that, maybe. If somebody else can come up with better words, that's fine. But it's like, you know, are you charging us a flat fee for this? Are you charging us hourly? And if so, how many hours are you giving us, sort of thing?
Okay, I think proposed fee structure encompasses all of that.
Right.
Okay, great. Done. Okay, that's all I had on that. Any other questions or thoughts?
Natalie, I just wanted to, I think Andrew might also know some places that you'd be able to post that.
I was
yeah.
I know
That's
that he
right.
works with the NAACP and Willie
Yeah.
Shaw, so that might be a connection. I don't know how structured it. I always screw up their name. Is it Black Lives for Evanston or something like that? I don't know how firmly structured they are, like if there's a true structure to them or something, but they might be a resource as well.
Okay. Okay, that's great.
Can I say something about the last highlighted thing on page 3?
Yeah.
The successful respondent will be expected to enter into a standard service agreement.
Yes.
Can we possibly say the successful respondent will be expected to enter into a Ridgeville Park District standard, into the Ridgeville Park District standard service agreement? No more messing around with changing words and
And
lines
Brian,
things of that nature.
the last draft I saw, Charles, is titled consulting agreement.
Is what-
Consultant agreement.
Consulting agreement.
Got it.
That's a good
And,
point.
and maybe it's into a consulting agreement as provided by Ridgeville Park District, so they know we're providing it. So we don't end up
Ridgeville
with the-
standard consulting agreement.
right,
Yeah.
so that they don't just think they get to issue their standard consulting agreement. It's being provided by us,
Right.
just to help clarify and avoid any issues.
Sure, and I think I'd be willing to provide that if somebody had concerns in the process.
Right.
Will you say that sentence for me in its entirety so I can write it?
The successful
The successful
respondent will be expected to enter into a standard consultant agreement?
Ridgeville consultant agreement.
No, consultant agreement as provided by
Oh, as
Ridgeville Park
provided by
District.
Ridgeville.
Consulting.
Consulting, okay. Yeah, whatever the official title of the document is that Charles has.
Thank you.
Okay,
Yes.
got it.
Okay.
Good catch, Brian.
Brian, you've had weeks to edit this. And now you just find it.
He was
Kidding.
saving it so he could contribute in the meeting.
There you go.
I know. All right, that's great. Thank you, everybody. That was that's all great. That's very
We don't have to vote on that though, right? Recommended action. That was the action, right?
No, I think that we should say this, we agree to this RFP because we're holding ourselves accountable then. So
Okay.
that when we do the pre-screen, this is what we're judging everything against, is what's being requested in this document. And we aren't going to throw out extra hurdles for people to jump through or anything like that.
great. Thank you.
So we are gonna make a
So
motion.
I would like to make a motion that we authorize the Park District, and I'll just leave it at that. So Natalie, if it comes from you, Brian, whoever, that the Park District issue the RFP for a racial equity, diversity, and inclusion consultant based on the document that's been provided to us with the amendments and changes as requested.
Do I hear a second?
Mitchell seconds.
Thank you. So I guess, have we any more discussion on that, or that's okay? Let's take the vote. Julie?
John?
Yes.
Mitchell,
Yes.
Morale,
Yes.
and Rogers.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you all so much. I just have a couple other quick things and then you'll be done with done with me for the night. I want to start off by saying thank you so much. The thought that you put towards today's actions and the work that we've done together today is really meaningful to me and to our community, and I want to thank you all so much for that. Matt Rogers, I want to thank you for coming to our meeting. I feel like it's really helpful to have somebody other than Martha at the meetings every now and again, especially when there's this much information coming through. So I want to thank you so much for joining us. And then I'm going to poke you all again. I know Martha's going to poke you too. We need another board member on the Ready Committee when Martha leaves. I don't know if I can bribe you with brownies if that's allowed. But keep that in mind, because for this committee to run well, we really do need that, a board member on there. So we have that liaison present. And thank you all so much.
So JC, just a couple quick things. Number one, I will happily temporarily serve while once Martha leaves. But my issue is I feel it's very inappropriate for me as a white male to be, I would love for us to see some more diversity on the board before I would take that position as a permanent position. I don't think that's appropriate for me. I mean, I do fall under the inclusion aspect of it as a gay male, but that's a hidden, inclusion, as it were. So I don't feel comfortable taking that role permanently, but in order to get us through until we either get a new board member in who maybe is a person of color, or until we can get some additional people of color onto the commission or onto the committee, I don't feel comfortable holding that permanently.
Thank you. I have an enormous amount of respect for that. I really do hope that moving forward and with these decisions, starting with the decisions made today, we need to grow this committee in the appropriate directions. I will also be honest with you all that I have been trying to tap into I'm not someone that's connected in the community. I am a shy, awkward human being, but I have tapped into all of my resources and trying to spread the word that this position is open and that hopefully we can particularly fill that position with a woman of color, because from my understanding, there's never been a woman of color on the board in its history. So I absolutely agree with you, and I really respect that decision. Oh, no?
I served with a woman of color. Actually, she resigned after 3 years. I can't remember. Brian, do you remember? She was.
We had at least three. We had. We had. She lives on Reba Place.
Yeah.
Martha McDonald. We had a gal. I can't remember her first name. And
not Treeblood.
We had City of Evanston employee who resigned. Her last name, I believe, was Hayes, but I can't remember for sure.
Thank you for that correction.
Yeah, there's been at least three.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's make it happen again. All right, thank
secondly,
you all so much.
Secondly, JC, before you go, I appreciate all the work you've put into this. I have one small request of you.
Yes.
When you come with these things, could you write us just a brief paragraph or something on each one, as opposed to just having a brief snippet of something, so that, because there was a lot of discussion on that June 9th or the Juneteenth. And I don't feel that having something that just says discuss adopting Juneteenth as a holiday really gives the weight to it that we should be considering. And so by having something in a paragraph that's written that just says, we discussed some of these following things, and you do it verbally, but it would be so nice to see it written so we kind of are prepared to come into the meeting. And it might just be if you can even provide draft minutes or something like that. I don't know how quickly your minute taker turns around those minutes. They would be unapproved, they would be draft minutes, but at least it gives us an idea as to some of the discussion.
Yeah, Natalie?
I was just going to suggest that either we could attach the draft minutes or JC could write a report. Like you could write a report, but I know that's a lot. So if the draft minutes would suffice, then we can certainly attach
just something to give us a little more, because it was an hour and a half meeting, 2-hour meeting, and to have it really distilled down into 4 sentences doesn't do justice to some of the discussion. So that would just be a request from me.
I can make it happen. I type up paragraphs myself that I read to you all. I can just provide you with all of that information.
Yeah, that would be just helpful to have that all beforehand, so we kind of can think about things and provide questions back to you.
Fantastic. Consider it done.
Thank you.
All right, thank you all.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, Matt. Oh.
Saying bye, JC. Thanks.
Oh, sorry. Okay. All right. Old business for action clarification for hiring contract employees, Matt Rogers. You're muted.
Charles is not here tonight. How do we feel about moving forward on this that he's worked on without him being here?
He should be here.
That would be my take
Yeah.
on it, but I don't know how everybody else feels.
So should we just continue this for the next meeting or when Charles is here?
I would say we should table it until the next meeting when Charles can be here to address any issues that are questions that may come up.
Sounds good.
You good? Okay. Let's see, new business. Let's talk about the Kabuto Park vehicle.
Yeah, in your board packet, there's 3 bids for the Caputo vehicle. Russo is, if you look at my handwritten stuff, the plow was not on their first page bid, but it's on the second page. So added together, it's $24,857. Then Johnson Tractor, $26,59, and then I can't see it stapled. First Choice Equipment was $28,850. So obviously Russo's the low bidder and by a couple thousand at least. And they're a great company. They're in Schiller Park. We go there several times. We buy our salt from there. They are actually servicing one of our lawnmowers now. We get good service from them. So I recommend you accept the bid for $24,857. And in the budget, there's $25,000 in the capital improvement fund for the vehicle.
Okay,
I move we accept the bid for the Kabuto Park vehicle from Russo as recommended by the executive director.
thank you, Matt. A second?
I will second. I'll just add into the motion for the amount of $24,857.
Okay. Any
Just so that's clear.
discussion?
Brian, is there any warranty on this thing?
Sorry, what?
Is there any warranty on it from the dealer or from the manufacturer?
It's from the manufacturer. I don't know it offhand, but it's
Okay, I was just curious. When are you expecting delivery?
Unfortunately 6 months.
That's too bad. At least you'll have it to
Have it for the winter.
for next year plowing.
Yeah.
And you know what? I looked at it and I forgot. I can look again. Are you getting the brush too, or just the plow?
We're just getting the plow because we only had 25,000 in the capital. We can put the brush in next year's budget, order that.
Okay, great.
Any other discussion?
And this is replacing a piece of equipment.
Yeah, we had a green machine. We called it a green machine. It's a Gator by John Deere.
Right.
And that was on a year and a half, 2 years ago, but that couldn't plow. This will do everything the green machine did, plus plow our sidewalks, which will save tremendous amount of time and our crew's backs.
And what is being done with the quote unquote green machine?
What's that?
What is happening with the green machine? Is
The
it
green
just
machine's been recycled
okay?
a year and a half ago. Yeah.
Anyone else? Okay. Julie, could you call the vote?
Ron,
Yes.
Mitchell,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
and Rogers.
Yes.
Okay. That passed. Brian, you can buy it.
Thank you.
Action. Okay, now increasing the petty cash. Can I entertain a motion for increasing the petty cash to $4,000 from May through August?
Mitchell moves to increase the petty cash available to the executive director up to the amount of $4,000 for the months of May through August 2022.
Thank you. A second?
Rogers seconds.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, Julie, the vote, please.
Ron,
Yes.
Mitchell,
Yes.
Merle,
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Okay, it passes. Call of the commissioners. Did we do that alphabetically? I don't,
However you want to do it.
okay, I'll go first then. I want to say, I want it to be recognized that Natalie did an incredible thing today for a 90-something-year-old constituent. A neighbor of mine who has just gotten out of rehab, had she gone out in this wind, she would have been blown off the sidewalk, I'm sure. She needed a notary, and Natalie was on her way somewhere and stopped by to do it. And I just want to say thank you so much. She appreciated it, and I appreciated it. And it was really a nice thing that you did, Natalie. And okay, Mick?
Nope.
Nope. Matt Mitchell?
We got somebody in our house playing AYSO soccer at Cayman Park. It's a great thing to see. If you're around on Sundays, there are a lot of young kids and families getting out there and exercising, playing soccer. It's great to see. Love that Ridgeville's a part of it. Thanks.
Yeah. Matt Rogers?
I have two quick little things. Number one, this summer, I would like I'm willing to do this. I don't know if anybody else is, but I would love us to set up maybe a commissioner in the park sort of thing on like one night randomly every now and then, where we could just be available to meet people at park. Maybe it's tied in with something, maybe it's not tied in with something. But to sort of make ourselves somewhat available to hear from constituents as to what sorts of things they're concerned with. And we could promote it through our Facebook page and our website and things like that. And I'm more than happy to do that. And I would invite anybody. Concerts I see came up as one of the things, but I'm thinking also just beyond having it be something that's so formal that it might just be, I live real close to Elmwood to what's the name of the park now? I'm drawing a blank. I walk by it. Corner of Elmwood and Brummel Park. So I'd be happy to go over there, and that sort of stuff. Elks Park is also real close to me. But I think that'd be a good way for us to sort of just make ourselves available, just go for our half hour, 45 minutes, that sort of stuff. Secondly, I kind of wanted to get the feelings from the other commissioners about starting our meetings at 7 instead of 7:30. I don't know how everybody feels about that. I think it would be nice to start a half hour earlier, but I know people are coming from different places and have different things going on, and some have children and those sorts of things. So I just wanted to throw that out about just starting a half hour earlier because we end a half hour earlier.
Hopefully, yes.
So just something to think about, if we'd be willing to do that.
How do we make that decision, or do we tonight, or?
I think we can
Put it
just
on the
kind of
agenda.
casual poll.
You put it on the agenda for next time.
Okay.
We'll talk about it.
Natalie, could you do that?
Yep.
Thanks. I got all the commissioners. Okay.
Debbie, sorry, I forgot something. Can I jump back in out of line? But first, before I do, Matt, I think Matt Rogers, I think a commissioner meet and greet is a good idea. And Natalie said concerts, and I had the same idea. While I do think, having something maybe on its own would be good. There's so many people at those concerts. They were very, very busy last year, and they were great and a lot of fun. And I went to a lot of them. So I think, and I, it's definitely, it was a good time for me to just meet neighbors and people, commissioner or not. And I think that would be a great place for us to be able to do that. And then we had last Saturday, we had, I rented out 908 Seward for my daughter's 3-year birthday party. The staff, Natalie, everybody was super helpful. We had a We had a really good time. Well, let me rephrase that. Everybody but her had a really good time. She had to be held by mom and cried pretty much the entire time. She was just very overwhelmed as a 3-year-old COVID baby is. She'd really never been to a birthday party before. But it was a blast. She had fun, and we all had a really good time. So I just wanted to thank everybody over there for their help.
Great. Okay, citizen comments? No one? All right. Now I have a question about executive session. Last time, should we do it with Martha missing or not? I'm not quite sure what we do with that.
Debbie, can I say?
Yes.
I think Martha wants to be involved in it through my conversations with her.
Okay.
But I didn't know she was going to be obviously ill today. But at any rate, we can put it off. If we only have 4 next month, we just got to do it.
We got to
Right.
do it. Yeah, it's not right.
Yeah.
So if it's okay with everyone, we'll put off executive session till next month, but we'll definitely do it next month.
Yeah.
Matt, you're
muted, Matt.
My only concern is could we go to executive session to approve the executive session minutes? I know that there's a time frame on those.
We're still good. If you go to executive session to approve the minutes, then there's another executive session that's got to be approved at some other point in time. So
Sure,
just
but
wait.
there's a time frame in which we're supposed to review and approve executive session minutes. And I don't know what it is off the top of my head. I can look it up. It's in the state law.
I'm not positive of the time frame.
But if everybody else is comfortable pushing it a month, I am.
do you
Yeah, I
want
mean, I'm fine. The only thing I didn't, we've kind of pushed the director's review back several times. So I just wanted to make sure that but if he's comfortable with us doing it, and it appears that Martha wants to be involved in that, I'm fine with that.
okay, so looks like everybody's fine with that.
I'm fine with pushing the executive director's review. The question is, do we go to executive session to review the?
Were you going to look up the time thing, Brian?
Seth?
I can look it up. I'm pretty sure it's in the state law.
It should take less than 5 minutes if you want to do
Okay.
it.
I think it's 6 months, Matt.
Oh, then we should do it.
I think we should do it.
Yeah, I think it's already beyond the.
Yeah, we should do it. Okay,
So
so
I move that we adjourn to executive session. We will then come back to this meeting, make any formal decisions, and then adjourn.
okay, so we're gonna adjourn to executive session now. So sorry. All right. So do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Debbie, we were waiting for you. We're gonna go ahead and make those motions in open session regarding the minutes.
Okay,
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and start. I move that we approve the executive session minutes from August 9th, 2021.
do I hear a second?
We're all
I'll
seconds.
second. Go ahead, Mick seconds it.
Yeah.
All right, Julie, can you call the vote?
Braun,
Yes,
Mitchell,
Yes.
Morale.
Yes.
And that was it for that one, right?
Yes.
yes.
Uh,
And now,
So now my next motion is that we approve the executive session minutes from September 9th, 2021, October 4th, 2021, and December 9th, 2021.
And it's October 14th.
Okay. 14.
It's the 14th, yes.
October 14th.
okay. This
I
is
second,
Ron
Roger
Alford.
seconds.
Okay. Julie, can you call the vote?
Braun,
Yes,
Mitchell,
Yes.
Morale,
Yes.
and Rogers.
Yes.
okay, Passes. And
Mitchell
now
moved to adjourn.
a motion to adjourn? Yes. Okay. Matt Mitchell says yes.
Matt Mitchell moves, Rogers seconds.
All right. And we all just say yes, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Not bad, guys. 9:53. If I were better at getting in and out of meetings, it would have been faster. Sorry.
Hmm.
All right. Thank you all.
Thanks.
Good night, everybody.
Night, everyone.